What's going on, CDL fans? Today, I want to talk about the possible reasons OpTic had to drop Dashy and iLLeY. If you enjoy CDL content, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to hit 100 subs by the end of the year. My last video did really well, so thank you all for the support on that. So the first thing I want to lightly touch on is the aspect of iLLeY's hand injury. People have been, thinking maybe his injury is more serious than, they might be saying, and that might be a reason OpTic is moving on from iLLeY. The reason I don't think this is true is because I don't think iLLeY would be tweeting out, I'm a free agent for the upcoming season, bang my line if you want to take over, if he isn't looking like he's going to be able to play, or maybe be able to play most of the season due to a hand injury. It wouldn't be fair to other teams for him to go sign with them if he can't play due to his hand. So I don't think that's the reason they're moving on from him. I think one of the probable reasons for them moving on from Dashy and iLLeY is that they wanted to bring Hydra into the team, and maybe they secured some sort of agreement with Hydra to have him come in. So they knew they needed to replace, iLLeY's IGL experience and his IGL capabilities. So they knew they had to do some sort of two-man swap. Obviously, they're not going to drop Scump. He's the, franchise player, the face of the organization. And I think, shotzzy has a lot of intangibles that might be hard to find. Plus, the AR market is a little stronger this year than the SMG market. So I think with like Cammy and Attach available, they knew they could bring one of those two in to be the main AR and kind of also be their IGL. So I think it kind of made sense that if out of the other three, Dashy was the one that would end up getting dropped. And now I'm not saying they should drop Dashy, because obviously Dashy is a top 2, top 3 most talented player in the league. I mean, he was like number 2 in MVP this past year. So he definitely doesn't necessarily deserve to be dropped, right? But I think if you really want to make an impact on a team, if you're really trying to, turn the page and do something different, a two-man swap is almost necessary, because sometimes a one-man swap isn't enough. Another reason they may be looking to move on from Dashy and iLLeY, like you can see from this tweet, is maybe there was some, inside or behind the scenes issues that we don't really know about. Whether it is people being, fed up with sleep schedules and other things, or it could be, people taking practice seriously. We're not exactly sure what those issues are. And maybe some of those will come to light in some sort of video that OpTic will probably have to release talking about this, because there's no way they're just going to do this and not discuss it. It's been a running theme so far in Dashy's career that people who have left teaming with him have said that he is kind of a problem behind the scenes, whether he sleeps in late and misses practice, or sometimes comes in and doesn't really, necessarily come in on time. I think those things have been a running theme. So maybe this is an issue that Rambo or Scump or shotzzy or all of them have been having with Dashy and could have led to him getting dropped. I think another possible reason that they moved on from Dashy, this one I think is less likely, and I'll explain why in a second, but maybe OpTic got offered, a ton of money, a big bag from a team to bring in Dashy, and they either didn't want to pass up that opportunity to bring in that type of cash, or he wanted to leave and go to this new team that offered, some sort of deal to bring him in. It's definitely a possibility, but the reason I don't think it's what happened is because Dashy tweeted that he was a free agent. So if he already knew he was moving on to a team like, let's say, Seattle Surge, who offered a big bag to OpTic for him, why would he bother tweeting that he's a free agent if he knew where he was going? So I think it's interesting. Maybe it was a formality. Maybe he didn't want to necessarily accidentally leak that he knows where he's going, so he had to tweet that he was a free agent, but I think this one is a little less likely. Another possibility that we could think of is iLLeY and shotzzy were technically both free agents. If you didn't know, they were still on their Dallas Empire deals, so they were on the +1 of their Dallas Empire deal that they re-signed in Cold War. So technically they were unrestricted free agents for this offseason. So this could mean maybe iLLeY didn't want to re-sign with OpTic, right? There's always a possibility that maybe there were things behind the scenes that were causing issues. Maybe he wants to go team with someone else. Maybe Crim6 hit him up and was like, hey, let's get the band back together. Let's head over to LAG with, Hook and do something, get it back together, do something different. It's always a possibility, right? That there was something happening that iLLeY just decided, listen, OpTic, I don't want to resign. I liked being here, but I just don't want to be here any longer. I want to do a new opportunity. I want to take my talent elsewhere. Definitely possible. I find it hard to believe because iLLeY seemed very much enjoying, the team and the atmosphere. I'm sure he likes shotzzy. I mean, they're probably best friends, right? You would think they've been teaming together for so long. He really likes Dashy. He likes Rambo. It seemed like they all got along really well. So unless there were a lot of behind the scenes issues, I kind of doubt he wanted to leave and didn't want to resign, but you never really know. I think probably the last reasoning there could be for dropping Dashy and iLLeY, I'm sure there's other reasonings that I didn't put down in this video, but these were kind of the main ones I thought of when making this, is that maybe Dashy just wants to be a duo with iLLeY on a new team, and they were talking about this, and they were discussing moving on from iLLeY, and Dashy was like, listen, like, I really want to team with this guy, and if he's moving on, I'd like to move on with him. So it's definitely a possibility. Like I said with a couple of these, I don't know how probable that is. I'm not sure how realistic that is for Dashy to, want to leave OpTic again. Like, he already, was a part of OpTic and didn't come over to them with the Chicago Huntsmen, and decided to stay on OGLA. So maybe he decided, listen, I really like teaming with Inder. I want to stay on a team with him, and he decided that he'd rather leave OpTic than, give up on teaming with iLLeY. I think it's hard to believe, right? I don't think any CDL fan or player, anyone who has any idea what's going on in the CDL, there's no way you can think that OpTic has an opportunity to upgrade talent over Dashy, right? I think the only player you could argue would be a better player than Dashy maybe would be Cellium, and there's no way obviously OpTic's getting Cellium. So I think the idea of them trying to upgrade Dashy into a better talent is just something that should be thrown out the window. So in my mind, this must be some sort of combo move because they're bringing in, let's say, Hydra for iLLeY. They wanted to replace somebody so they could get a new IGL, and because of the ARs available like Cammy and Attach, they knew that they had to move on from Dashy in order to bring in one of those guys and make this team mesh well with shotzzy, Hydra, scump, and then whoever this IGL is, whether it be Attach or Cammy. Kind of like, I understand where they're coming from. Sometimes you need to change things up, and like I said, a two-man swap is usually more impactful than a one-man swap in these types of things. So it makes sense, and you're bringing in a slay heavy SMG like Hydra, let's say, so he will get kills, which is more than what iLLeY, let's say, was doing in terms of the slaying aspect. But then you're getting rid of Dashy, who is one of the best slaying players in the entire league, and you're bringing in someone who isn't as much of a slayer but can be more of a leader and still be a competent slayer and AR player like Cammy or Attach. So I think overall it could work. What really matters is making sure the chemistry and the personalities mesh together. We know obviously Hydra's French, Rambo speaks French, so that's definitely something that could be really good there to kind of help that language barrier. Obviously Hydra speaks English, but he hasn't been speaking it for more than a couple of years. So the language barrier there definitely helps with Rambo being the head coach and speaking the same language as Hydra. And then bringing in someone like, let's say, Attach or Cammy to be your leader makes sense. I personally like Attach a little bit better because I think not only did Attach definitely have a better year last year, Attach is a little bit more of a veteran. He's been around the league. I'm just not really sure exactly who fits in better. Personally, I like Attach mainly based off of how good of a year he had this past year. And also Attach is just one of those like clutch icy guys that I think could really help out OpTic when it comes down to search and destroys in round 11s and really keeping their heads in the game, because we've seen the amount of comebacks Attach has been a part of in his career. But that pretty much does it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments is the most probable realistic reason for OpTic to move on from Dashy and iLLeY. I'd love to hear, your theories on this situation. And hopefully soon, I believe on the 22nd or the 23rd, which is next week, people can actually start signing new contracts. So we will probably very shortly in the coming days hear rumors about exactly where these players are going to go, and then next week hear where they're actually signing. So if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe. I really appreciate the support, and hopefully I will see you all in the next video.